So going into the Battle of Bull Run, I'm going to do something that I think I probably wouldn't normally recommend. Since I've sort of committed to this logistics approach, which isn't going to work quite as well as I initially thought, but I'm going to see if I can pull it off. I'm going to go with a third point logistics to get a few extra cannon for Shiloh and bank on being able to pull off a win at Bull Run with only 8 units. Normally, I would recommend put the third point in, this extra point in AO, give yourself an extra 2 unit slots, and probably fill those slots with 2 small dedicated skirmisher units armed with infantry weapons. They'll help you flank a little bit more, give you a little bit more coverage, and just overall get you in a better position going forward, I think. But anyways, for this playthrough, I'm going to do something a little different, see if I can make it work. So I'm going to go third point logistics. I'm going to end up getting rid of this unit. I'm torn about having done this. In some ways, I feel like I should have just kept this guy smaller, let him take a little damage, and then he would have come into this battle at an appropriate size and with a star. I think the 2 max-sized skirmisher units at Distress Call make more sense if you're going the training route, and if you end up with 2 of them. Because if you have 2 of them, then 2,000 men is enough that you can use them to charge. If you only have 1, they just don't really fulfill that role too well. So I don't think that if you're going to make the second artillery battery, I just don't think it's worthwhile. Okay, so outside of what we wish we'd done, what we're actually going to do, buy up all the cannon we need. And I guess I'll briefly discuss why I'm buying these cannon. So, the Siege has 1,000 range, has good damage, has a good range curve. Excellent weapon. Whitworth, a little bit lower damage, but has an incredible damage curve and also has 1,000 range. A little bit lower damage, but a good curve, and again, 1,000 range. These 1,000 range guns will win you battles later in the campaign. 24 pounders, still good. And the James has a pretty good range curve and pretty good damage. You compare that to the 10-pound Parrot. The James is going to be just as good at max range, and the James will be better in every other scenario. And while the James only has 900 range, that's about as good as you can get until you can get these guys online. This is the best counter battery weapon you can buy. The Perk can work, but I don't want to spend money on them. The 3-inch is terrible at the moment. The curve was designed for a much higher damage range in the base game, which it just doesn't have. So I just don't think it's very good. 12-pounder, great at point blank. If you're going to push them right up into your infantry and use canister with them, probably fine. I don't like using my artillery like that, so I just use the 6-pounder instead. Arguably, the 6-pounder is just better than the 12-pounder. It's just too good right now. And the Napoleon right now is really just a worse version of the 12-pounder in a lot of ways. Also something that needs to get adjusted. Okay, so we've got our artillery. The other thing I'm going to buy is the JF Browns. They're unfortunately not particularly good at max range, but if you can get the unit a little bit closer, they do perform pretty well. And they're your best option since you can't buy a scope with worse. It's worth taking a look at. So in the J&P mod, there are no, I guess the longest range rifle you can get is 500. There's no intermediate steps. There's either you get a rifle weapon, which has a range of 400, or you go straight up to these scoped rifles. So there's not really an in-between step, which is a little bit problematic in terms of getting these units leveled up. But once you can get them there, these weapons are still very good. So we're going to stockpile up later. I don't I'm not sure if we'll have enough to actually even create a unit at Shiloh, but I'm playing this as if I would play it all the way through, so I'm going to pick it up. And then we're going to buy all the 1861s to get the unit and equip them as high as we can. I don't usually buy rifles too much, but it's not too many of them, so. Now, we have a decent amount of money left. I'm going to be somewhat liberal with veterans. And I'm using veterans first before I disband this because I want the recruit pool to get a little bit smaller. It won't help a whole lot, but good habit to be in. We'll just we'll go with 2,500, I guess. And technically I should probably do the recruits later, but this unit's pretty good, so it can absorb. It can absorb it, so I'm going to let it pull it down for other units. I could swap 61s out for the 1841s, but I'll take the better rifle for the 40 less men. Now, don't usually just fill up on veterans, but getting to that second star is super important in the mod. So, and we're only spending 2,000, so I think that's worthwhile. I don't think we need to spend anything there. Cavalry is going to be all recruits because I don't really care about the stats too much. I can't get them to the second perk. Arguably, I could be spending. I guess I could be spending that. Debatable. Depends how much supply you want. Could probably afford to spend that, but I think it'll be fine. Nothing there. Okay, now we can disband these guys. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with my last unit, but we have some officer shenanigans to go through first. We are going to buy the general because I need to swap this out. And I'm going to be taking speed only because this battle is, the timers are incredibly tight on the Union side. Far too tight in my opinion, actually. I think I'm going to put out a patch in the future that's going to increase the timers just for this battle on the Union side, because it's to the point that if you make a mistake and you trigger a phase early, you're probably not going to get out of it with better than a draw on Legendary. On lower difficulties, you have a little more leeway, easier to fight your way through stuff, but on Legendary, it's incredibly tight, so I think I'm just going to increase it. It just doesn't really fit in with most of the rest of the battles in the mod, where you generally have time to rest your troops and move around and that sort of stuff, and in this battle you just really don't. Okay. So the next goal is to see how many stars we can get out of this. I think... Okay, not quite. He has 70, so I think that means we need to go get Gibbon.
Yes, sir.
Okay, got that. Only need a slightly better colonel there. Grab this one. Okay, got the star. Okay, we're gonna need someone slightly better there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, he's not good enough. Let's see if this works. Okay. I'd like to get someone better in command here. I might just swap these two around. And that leaves us, okay, so we've got the general. So I'm not entirely sure which unit I'd want to go with here. Normally I would probably go... Normally I'd go with a detached skirmisher unit. What'd that look like if we do that? Okay, we would get the perk. That really only gets its accuracy or reload time. Also, that puts a general in a unit that's very vulnerable. Other option would be infantry. That'd give us a 4th infantry unit, which gives us a little bit more coverage. 3 is pretty small. But again, that puts a general in a very vulnerable spot. Because I don't think... Let's check. I don't think Gibbon is enough. Oh, he is enough. Okay, maybe I'd do that. Means my general's safe. Gives him more XP, probably gets him up to Brigadier General after this battle. So the other option here is I go with a 3rd artillery unit. The 3rd artillery unit is tempting because that's where a lot of your damage comes from early on. And that lets us prep for the future battles a little bit more. Let's see what scaling looks like. We should be around somewhere between 24 to 26. Okay, that's 27. Let's see what happens if we get rid of that this guy. Because unfortunately we're at pretty high training, and from doing some checking, I think I have a really bad RNG roll in terms of AI. Okay, yeah, down to 25. Yeah, it's not worth adding 1,000 infantry to face an extra 1,500 men that are probably largely going to be 3-star infantry. That's a really bad trade. So instead we're going to go with artillery. Actually, what's the artillery like? I have no idea if I'm going to trigger scaling there. So 71. Yeah, let's swap these out for more 6-pounders. That leaves us... What do we have? Napoleons, which are not great. I don't really want to go above 5. Because after this battle, the 24-pounders go here, these guys stay on 6-pounders, and this unit would take counter batteries, so it's either a 20-pounder, or of which I'll have 4, or the James, which I'll have 5. So I think we're going to go with 5 here. Which means this unit does not want speed, it wants to go... It wants that. It wants the long range. Our second perk here. Cover and reload time is nice, especially for units that are going to be in close. Plus 100% damage, if you can ensure that they're in shell shot range, is really good later on. And you've got accuracy and effective range, which is also really good. I think I'm going to go with range, because eventually I want to swap this unit out of using smoothbores or howitzers and into using long-range cannon. And the long-range cannon, I basically always go on the far right of the tree. Abusing the range stacking as much as I can. There are other options that are absolutely good, like getting this one, and then getting the extra shot shell damage is probably better, because that extra 15% range won't be necessary most of the time. Short-range cannon are harder to spec out for a couple of reasons. Their range is really short, so getting the extra effective range is really good. Reload time is really good on them as well, especially in terms of like getting that extra round of canister off. Like normally in the base game, I don't care much about reload time, but the bonuses here are a bit more significant. Getting the extra cover is really good, but like in a lot of cases, it actually feels like to go into the theory a little bit, I like to have sort of a mix. It's really nice to have the extra movement speed. It helps them stay with the troops. If they need to rotate faster, they do it. The extra cover is really nice. The reload time is good. If you can afford to build a unit up and then get it all the way into... If you can get it all the way to 3-star and still take these first 2 perks, you can get a really solid unit. It's not going to do a lot of damage, but like you would take that unit and stack it with a general that has multiple accuracy bonuses to sort of make up for it. And if you give it really good cannon, it sort of makes up for it a little bit. But you'll have really versatile units there, and then you'd have more of a defensive artillery, which would probably be range, tactical training, and then either long range. I'd probably go with more range, but that's just how I play. So a couple different options there, but for now I'm going to go with extra range and damage. This is the unit that I'm considering if I want to try and go with horse artillery. The problem is if I do that, I'm going to do much less damage with this cannon, and the general isn't going to have any accuracy, so it's going to be much less effective. I think since I'm going to have 3 cannon, I'm going to try and do all long-range focus. This is also sort of planning for Shiloh, and that I'm going to be, like, these are going to be getting a huge amount of the kills for me. Being able to have the movement speed and retreat back faster at Shiloh is really nice, but I'm going to have to plan around artillery that's not going to have it anyways, so if you stagger your retreat properly, you can get them out in time. So we're going to go with range on all of these. And then for my infantry unit, we've got a couple of good options. Really good reload speed, very maneuverable unit. You can just go for very defensive, very high damage. I am hesitant to use this too much, especially until later on, because a unit like this that has no move speed, if you get caught by a charging unit, you can't make it out. Like if that unit has a speed perk, you're never getting out of there, and it's going to destroy you in melee. So I only use this later on in the campaign when I have dedicated melee units or a thicker line that I'm pretty confident I can defend this unit. And Shiloh will definitely not be that, so I'm going for the accuracy and melee split. And I prefer doing it this way because I would rather have, as an extra bonus, I would rather have the morale damage received reduction rather than, because you can sell 25% speed, charge damage is the same, and accuracy is the same. So mixing these two or mixing these two, the only difference is which morale damage is, and in general, where I really care about morale is in melee. So this is my preferred route for a generic unit. Okay, I don't think there's anything else to do. Just double check the armory. Yep, got everything we need. We've got 1 lieutenant colonel. Let's see if he's better than any of these guys. Nope. So we would be in decent shape if we had gone for 3. We'd only have to buy 1 major. But I am going to leave him in the barracks. And if we can, assuming we make it through this battle, we're coming out of this with 4 other colonels, which is going to make things, going to put us in really good condition for Shiloh. Alright, so that's it for the Bull Run camp, and I'll be back with the battle, and we'll see if we can pull it off.